Okay, great. Anson, would you like to go ahead and just introduce yourself, and then we will go ahead and discuss our cool abilities topics with you.
Sure. So my name is Anson Call, and I'm a former associate of Deb's at Iowa State University. I'm an artist and a designer in the graphic design department here. And I have a son whose name's Evan that we're going to be talking about today, who has ADHD and is on the spectrum.
Okay.
So I think that's pretty much the introduction.
Great. Maybe we are talking about the cool abilities. Kelly, would you like to give a little bit of an introduction to the cool abilities?
I'm just wondering if, before I give an introduction, I'm just wondering if Anson read the paper. I know the students did, and I'm just wondering if you had a chance to read it or to have a look at it.
I can't remember if I sent it to you. Did I send it? I can't remember.
Well, cool abilities are David and I and another researcher from the Jerusalem, from the Mount Scopus University, from the Hebrew University in Israel. We coined the word cool abilities to describe the enhanced abilities of people with disabling conditions. And Deb loved this because this is really a refreshing approach to see the strengths and the things that people with disabling conditions can do and how it can apply it in the job market. And it changes, from my point of view, I'm a counselor, so it changes the way people see themselves and how people see their children. So when Deb introduced this to her students, as one more way of looking at design, we all thought it was very exciting. And here we are talking to parents and about how they perceive their children's cool abilities and what they think and what their children think. So, Deb, why don't you take it from here?
I sure will. Thank you, Hallie. The first question, Anson, that we would like to have you describe for us is, how do you describe your child with regard to typical emotions and feelings? How does your child affect your emotions or make you feel? And how do they show their feelings to you? Are they usually described in a certain way? And what examples can you give about feelings in your
Sure. So I think now's the time to test out this screen sharing ability here, Deb.
Okay, go for it.
So I'm gonna click on the screen share, and you tell me if you can see this. Okay, let's see. It looks like that's. Are you guys seeing that? Okay.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and just introduce you here to Evan, and I have a lot of his drawings here. Can you guys see that? Okay.
Awesome. It's so cute.
Yeah, he's adorable.
I worked with so many kids. I love children. That's so cool.
So this is Evan, and as you can see, he's got a little bit of mischievousness going on here. So Evan has a very interesting relationship with rules. He's very obsessed with the idea of rules. And so here, he wanted some cookies. His mom gave him 8 cookies, and the rule was that he couldn't just eat the black part of the Oreo, okay? So what he did, because what he would do is he would just eat all of the stuffing and leave all of the black parts of the Oreos, right? So just sort of flippantly, his mom says, okay, you can't just eat all of the stuffing, you have to eat the black part too. So what he did is he stuffed this big cookie full of the stuffing. So we have super stuffed cookie here. And as he's gone along, he's eaten all of the black parts as well. So he's a fun kid. let me get into sort of the emotional side of this. I'm going to show you some of his drawings here. And let me see if I can find, so Evan there's a thing about Evan in that if you take two people out on the street just randomly and you talk about emotions, chances are high that one person is going to feel things just more strongly than the next person standing next to him, okay? And if you look at this drawing here, you can see, so this is how sad Evan was after he left, leaving a friend's house. You know how when a friend is over, they're having a good time and they don't want to leave. So he came and he drew this picture. Now, I don't know about you, but if that has to be one of the saddest pictures. And so, but look at the detail that he goes into this drawing of, you know, all the little tears, the sort of train track smile. We're going to get into train tracks here a lot. So Evan just feels things much stronger than his peers, and probably by a couple orders of magnitude. And it can go both ways. So that's just something that we have to deal with, Evan, that, you know, so when he has an emotional response to a situation, it's going to be intense. It's going to be very, very intense. So I hope that answers your question, Deb, about the sort of emotional.
How do you feel emotionally? How does your son elicit emotions from you and his siblings and, you know, your family?
Yeah. Well, you know, he does have some exercises at school that sort of help him talk about his emotions. So here's a grouchy Evan. I was grouchy because the cat hissed at me. So he does have this emotional relationship with his cats and with us. And it's really great to sort of show some of these drawings that he has, because this is a picture of him mowing the lawn with his mother. So he really shows his emotions through his drawings.
Yes.
And you know, his emotional response, I mean, we have a good relationship. We have a good family structure and relationship. So, you know, he's able to, the other thing that's sort of strange about Evan is that he can actually talk about his emotions. He can sit there and tell you exactly how he feels.
That's wonderful.
Which is and you do so in a way that's not normal. I'm not sure how to describe that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You showed a picture of him feeling really sad, and really, I mean, my heart goes out for him. Just see this level of sadness, the tears. Does he describe his happy part just in detail when he's happy and and joyous?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't have an equal picture showing him, you know, happy, other than maybe with
okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's just an example of an emotional expression. It's not say that he's usually sad or usually happy.
Right.
It's pretty normal in the sense of the range of emotions that he expresses.
I just want to note for the students out there that there is a popular belief that people with autism who are on the autism spectrum do not experience feelings the way other people do, and they don't have empathy or they kind of things like that. And I do to the detail and how aware the little boy is of his own emotional world.
Yeah.
And how he really, really knows what's going on for him.
And I would say that he knows it in a way that's not, it's not typical. It's not typical of his peers. I would say that he's far more in tune
deeper. Mm-hmm.
than the typical peer at his age. We've
Yes.
sat and had conversations about his emotions for hours. You know,
Yeah.
telling us, and he'll, you know, he's helped us be better parents.
Wow. I'm sure of it.
He has sat us down and said, look, if you'll just do it this way, you'll get a better result. Now, he doesn't say it in those few words. It's
Yes.
much longer. So,
Wow. Anson, that's amazing. Let me ask you a second question. How do you describe your child's like preferences with regard to socialization, connections with people or animals or family or friends? What does he do for fun or relaxation? What kind of connection?
yeah. Well, he does watch a lot of watch a lot of television content. Probably way more than we should let him. But and he does. But as far as his relationship to other people, he prefers grown-ups. If he has the chance to speak with someone his age or a grown-up, he'll almost 9 out of 10 times choose the adult to be with and to speak with, which is very interesting. He's starting to learn more now how to associate with people his own age. He's starting to learn that, but that's still really difficult for him. He doesn't have a lot of friends that are his age. He's starting to have one now. I think though that the relationship with animals is a whole topic. So I'm going to show you guys a few pictures that he draws. Let's go to this question that he got in school. 3 reasons why a turkey would be a good pet.
Oh,
So
awesome.
the first one is you could train it to peck in nails.
Wow.
Okay, and then the second one is you could learn more about it. And I'm gonna I don't know, when I zoom in, can you guys see those drawings? Can you see the drawings here?
We can see them.
So here's Evan sitting on a couch interviewing the turkey. So he's a psychologist. He's a turkey psychologist there. And then the last one is you could learn how to draw a turkey. So if you had a pet turkey, you could learn how to draw the turkey. So here he's got an easel and he's drawing the turkey there.
Wow. Those are great. They're very creative, aren't they?
Yeah, so he really has this really strong relationship with animals. He loves cats. He absolutely loves cats. We have sort of an adopted grandmother, and she has 5 cats, and he was at her house, and she was describing how one of her cats had to be put down because it had a stroke. And he was very, very upset by this. So he's determined now to grow up and to create an anti-stroke medicine
Wow.
for cats.
Just a second.
Wow. That shows a lot of compassion, though. Yeah, that shows a lot of compassion, that he would have those feelings, he would note that.
So I'll show you a few more.
Autism and feelings, guys. That's really, really important to pay attention to. And also another thing that it's easier to interact with adults for most kids on the spectrum because adults are more predictable and trustworthy in their experience. Now, they may not be able to say that to you, but you would have less of that with children.
Right.
So that's something to pay attention to. And also it depends on the family dynamics. Who is one interacting with mostly, and if it's an only child or siblings, and where the child is in the family, if it's the first child or the second child or the little one.
Yeah. Well, Evan is 10 years younger than the oldest child.
I'm trying to get earphones here because I'm in a big place here with many people.
You're at the United Nations.
Big place.
Yeah, the UN, kind of big, you know.
I'm just in my apartment. It's no big deal here.
Let's see if I can find David and get the earphones.
Okay. I'm going to go on to our next question, Anson. I'm going to mute Allie's person so we'll kind of put that down. The next question says, how do you describe your child's favorite activities? Or are there behavioral things or pleasurable activities, things that that he finds soothing, things that he finds uplifting or bring happiness or joy? And does he like having things more high energy or more relaxation kind of oriented?
It's Deborah and her students. Say hello to Deborah and her students.
Hello, Deborah.
And her students.
Yes. Earphones, yes.
Good job.
There you go.
I got earphones. Now it's going to be better. Just a second.
Okay. Life is tough when you're presenting at the UN. Okay, we'll see how that goes.
Oh.
Well, I think that I can answer, that question as far. Can you repeat the question again, Deb?
Yeah, sure. Just a second. Let me step over here. Okay. How do you describe your child's favorite activities, behavioral considerations, pleasurable stuff,
Yeah.
things that he finds soothing or bring happiness?
Well, he likes to draw. He loves to play with trains. He is obsessed with trains and cats. So we do have some cats to play with. And he does really like to. He likes to play with the iPad, and because he is pretty high functioning. So I would say that he does share a lot of the same. He does take pleasure from a lot of the same activities that someone his age would. But the way he interacts with them is pretty different. So, for example, when he sits down and he draws, it kind of goes crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's his drawing?
Yeah. So here's a drawing, and the thing that he really takes pleasure in is storytelling. We've sort of noticed this at a really early age, that he likes to tell long stories. And so I don't think you can necessarily see all the details in this picture, but this has squirrels and bats and snakes and raccoons and owls. We've even got the bats in front of the moon here.
Oh my gosh.
Flying in front of the moon.
Anson,
It's very, very intricate, and you can sort of see that when he sits down to do these things, that there's a lot up there.
It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear that he was telling a story in his head while drawing this picture.
Exactly.
So he was drawing while he was going on with telling a story, right? Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of he loves to do this. He loves to storytell, either just orally or with pictures. And his mind is racing a lot of the time.
This is super talented for his age.
It's very. I've never seen it. I've never seen a drawing quite like that.
No, it's shockingly sophisticated for his age.
Yeah, and he does like to tell stories. So here's just this is a simpler drawing of a cat in a car and stuff like that. see if I can find.
If you want to listen to it.
Does he see these as pictures, Anson, or does he see them as a story?
I think he sees them as both. He sees them as both. Oh, here's a cat hotel.
Now, thinking about what you do, Anson.
I know.
I know, right? Does anybody know what Anson does?
So I write stories and I draw pictures. I mean, and so we have plenty to talk about.
Well, you've made whole worlds, Anson.
Right. Well, and he's done this. He's already created his own world at age 6, 7, and 8. So this is a cat hotel. This cat hotel has everything cats would want. It has a bowl of pears. He puts these strange elements in here. I don't understand it always. There's a fish that the cats can go to when they're hungry.
Wow.
And this hotel just keeps going higher and higher. He does seem to have an obsession with 8 o'clock in his picture.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure where that comes from, but he does have
8 a.m. or 8 p.m.?
You know what? I think it's at night because a lot of the pictures that I've shown you all happen at night.
Can I ask you a question about his bedtime? What
Sure.
is that?
His bedtime is 8 o'clock.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
He knew.
Well,
Don't get anything past Holly. She is on it.
Yeah. Now, another strange thing with his drawings is that he will draw from multiple perspectives. So if you look at this image, for example, you can see that there's a road in between here, and then there's some houses along the top here. But let me open this up here, and I'm going to show you that
At the end of the day, it's always going to be on that terms.
that you can rotate this picture, and it's
the same.
Oh my
a
God.
new image. So it's a double perspective image.
That is just fascinating. Can I ask about his handedness? Is he right or left-handed?
I tends to be more right-handed, but he's ambidextrous.
how old is he? 5? 6?
8.
7? 8.
But a lot of these
Wow,
drawings. when he
that's
was-
amazing. That's
A lot of
amazing.
these were when he was 6 and 7.
Is he by any chance dyslexic?
I'm sorry.
Because
Dan?
if this was something that he drew at 5, I would say that's very, very, very advanced. And even at 8, it's very advanced, this perception.
Because most kids don't.
And I've seen hundreds of pictures of children. That's really, really cool. Amazing.
Does he read normally?
Does he what, Deb?
Reading?
His reading level is at a 3rd or 4th grade level right now. He's in 2nd grade,
Wow.
Yeah.
so he's above
Wow. Okay,
his peers there.
That's amazing. Your son is amazing, Anson. Let me see if we have another question. You can kind of give us some more info. Does your child have a special thing that he likes or attaches to, such as objects or movies, pictures, music, sensory things like sand, water, or light?
I don't know.
You gave me your card. I was at your table, but I know.
Well, he's very attached to his cats
Yeah, I want to hear.
and his trains in an obsessive way.
Students from
Um,
Oh, it is.
having a Zoom meeting.
Just a second. I'll put this on.
I can't hear you, Deb.
Oh, let
I
me.
will contact
I'm going to mute
Barry.
you
I want to see your.
for a minute. A lot of the kids that would have these similar talents are very interested in trains.
Yeah.
It's very common.
Uh-huh.
Does he like the trains for a reason? Is it like the movement or the shapes, or what do you think?
I think he likes the idea of the train and the track. He's as much obsessed with the track as he is the train. It's definitely the movement of the train that he takes comfort in when it's on the track. Let me see if I have an image that sort of, here's a train one. This one's really early. I think this was when he was 5 and he was learning the ABCs. and he did it backwards. So here's the steam train, and then it goes Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T. He did it backwards. He started here and went backwards. And starting with ABC, he went backwards. So, yeah, and in a lot of the images, he just has train tracks everywhere. I think we went over this one.
Is it electric trains, or does he push them with his hand?
They're both. Yeah.
Wow. I have heard that so many times.
Here's another sort of train one. You can just see sort of tracks. Tracks are just laid out throughout the image.
There's so much repetition of form and stuff in there from a design sense.
Yeah.
A lot of pattern.
Yep. And he doesn't want to draw with color. He wants the pencil, the black and white image of it.
Wow. That's sort of significant too, I think.
It is, because I've asked him repeatedly, do you want color? Do you want color? No, I want it to be like this.
Wow.
And this happens at night. Here's the moon right there.
So does he draw them at night too, Anson?
No, he draws them during the day.
But he's fascinated with nighttime and evening.
And the animals, and there's animals all throughout here too. They're just not obvious necessarily in the drawing.
That's a fascinating, actually, the idea that they're linear and the pencil drawing.
That's the
Yeah.
thing that I wanted to check.
So
Were you asking a question, Deb? I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Let's see. Let me go on. We have a couple more. We're just looking at some very interesting things that you can describe for us. What special knowledge does your child have, or what have you learned from them? You've kind of answered that. And then also the talents or skills that people maybe have noticed about your child. Have people said things to you? Gee, your son is great at...
Well, his teacher tells us what he's good at, and she mentioned something. Oh, you know what? So you know those math problems where you get a problem, a story problem, and then you have to solve it, but then you have to say why.
Okay.
And he answered that in a way that was like, I mean, I can't even tell you how far above it was. I mean, it sounded like the beginning of a math proof almost of what. I was just like, what? And the teacher kept that. She kept that. We wanted it, but she wanted to keep it.
Oh no.
Because it was just so indicative of like how you're supposed to answer that math problem question.
Is he intuitively talented in math, do you think? Or is it more the storytelling kind of math?
Yeah, that is a really good question. So this is an image he does. So he really likes Garfield. And in this episode, Garfield interacts with this robot. And the robot makes Garfield all staticky. And then something happens. I'm not quite sure what this drawing bit is on the right, but I can see a hiss. So Garfield is hissing. So anyway, he's retelling this story as a math equation.
Wow.
So, there's this robot and the cat here, and then something happens equals this. And
wow.
I don't know where that comes from, but
it's sort of linear though, like the trains even. There's a linearity and a methodical sort of nature to him, it seems like. That
very methodical, yes. Yeah.
That whole sequential thinking and stuff too would play right into the storytelling and the cause effect, the logic.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I see very clearly is his ability to visualize any strain of thought that he has.
Yeah.
And that's a really a gift, because that's not an easy thing to do. And it seems that he can do it in speech as well. Is that correct? Because you said that he can tell about his feelings and he can explain things and tell stories in length.
Right.
So he does it, in more than one way.
If you were to sit with him, he would tell you whatever because he'll, part of the problem is that he won't stop. His stories will go on for hours.
Mhm.
They will go on for a day if you let them.
Now, has he watched you do animation?
Yes.
When you're modeling and you're animating objects and the wireframing, has he watched you do that?
He's watched me, and I've had him do some.
Do you think that was influential?
I'm still with Deb and her students on the phone.
For sure, it's influential.
Yeah, because it seems like maybe he's picking up a vernacular that he's seen and has a lot of the talents that you have.
Yeah, he will come in and watch me work, and he'll start asking me questions. And he really wanted to learn it one day, so I sat him down, and he made his own little solar system.
I've never had an 8-year-old make a solar system.
And he got all the planets in the right order.
Oh my God. That's awesome. This is exactly the kind of abilities that we're looking at that are, maybe go unnoticed, but they're so indicative of a child with these kind of talents. That is amazing stuff. Let me see if I have any other questions, Anson, and then I'll let the students ask some too. Here's a very good one. What goals or dreams does your child have, and what goals or dreams do you have for your child? What do you think he'll do?
So Evan talks a lot about fixing cat problems when he gets older, like coming up with a medicine so cats won't have strokes. He's also very obsessed with the idea of steam trains, steam engines, and he's very, very upset. This is really funny. He's very, very upset that diesel engines have supplanted steam trains. He's very emotional about this, and he keeps saying, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to restore the steam engine to it's rightful place.
Oh,
there goes global warming.
Oh my God! Wow,
It's funny.
It really is a sort of odd thing to do. But he also talks about designing, and so he definitely has these dreams. And as far as my dream for him, he definitely has emotional outbursts that are not healthy for him, and some behaviors that are not healthy. And then on the other side, he has this very creative side to him, and he has large amounts of empathy and ability. So I think my dream for him is just to be able to find a good balance between those two aspects about himself when he grows older. I think I really want the same thing for him as other parents want for their children.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's excellent. When you think about him in terms of his abilities, like we're talking about today, does that do you bring up ideas of greater possibilities, Evan, or
Do I bring up ideas for him?
Yeah, like when we reframe this on his ability, does that do anything for you?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, for one thing, it's just fun to interact with him. It's just fun to hear what he's thinking, and it's fun to see his creativity at work, and it's fun to see that side of him. So for me, it's just it's just entertaining to be around some of the things he'll do and say.
Well, I think it's amazing that you said he's made you and your wife better parents, and that he's changed your family in some ways.
Let's not sugarcoat this either. He's what we call a 4-parent child.
I totally get it.
Yeah, well, I know you do that.
Oh my,
But but at the same time, he's very unique for sure.
that's terrific. I guess I'd like to see if any of our students that are here today, because you guys are making the supreme effort to be online with us. Do you have some questions for Anson? You're all working on game projects, and we're going to be applying the Cool Abilities framework to each of your projects. So is there something you'd like to ask while we have Anson online with us today? Who do we have that isn't driving?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
How does he play? Like with games or apps or interact with the screen?
So Evan is a master at using the iPad.
Yeah.
And the iPhone, and he's also pretty good at using the computer and the mouse.
Okay.
But the iPad definitely comes more natural to him. He uses it as well as you do.
Well, like, how does he attach to it? Like emotionally, is he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like a normal kid.
When he goes to entertainment, the iPad is his first thing that he goes to. Netflix is the big thing. But he likes he likes all different kinds of games. He does. The game Monument? There's an iPhone game called Monument.
Yeah.
It's a game. You are familiar with it?
No, I'm just following.
This Monument game it's a puzzle game, three-dimensional puzzle game based on the idea of illusion. Anyway, he blew through all the puzzles. He solved them all.
Oh wow, yeah, he's really talented.
Does he like to play by himself or with others, Anson?
That's a tricky question. It just depends on his emotional state. He likes to play with other kids. He really likes to. But he also is fine playing with himself. So but just by himself, and I think that he gets bored by himself now, though. Now he's starting to get more bored by himself.
That's great.
Hey, Anson, did you mean Monument Valley?
I think maybe you're right. Let me check that. I have the app actually. So
Like a perspective crazy game?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a game that challenges adults. So.
It looks intense.
If you have not played that game, I highly recommend it. It is one of the funnest games I have played in a while. Yeah, I don't see it on my phone. I think I just have it on my iPad. But I think you're right. I think it's Monument Valley. You're basically a little character that you're walking on surfaces, and you can manipulate the orientation of the surfaces in order to find your goal. It's a great game.
It sounds like this. Okay, thank you.
Wow, nice. And so it's kind of spatial in that regard?
It is very spatial, but it's not just it's spatial, but it's solving three-dimensional puzzles.
Oh, wow.
So if you think of Escher, if you think of the Escher image, how it doesn't make sense,
Uh-huh.
that is the style, and that's the what's the word I'm looking for? That's the core of the game, the core idea of the game. So
He's very clever that way then. That's really, it seems like it's got some strategy maybe or some.
it's not strategy, it's puzzle solving.
Okay.
Yeah. But he likes other simple games like Flappy Bird, or what's the other one where he has to cross the road? He likes all kinds of games.
That's awesome. Other questions that you guys have? Do any of you want to tell Anson about the game you're making? Anson knows all about games. He is the expert to ask. So take your, who would like to do that? Who do we have on here?
Oh, so I'm trying to make a game that involves a physical toy along with the application. Is there any advice for somebody who's trying to beat that multidimensional world and like have him interact with not only an app but also a toy.
Describe a little bit what you mean by that. So you have a physical toy
Okay,
that
so
comes along with the game?
yeah, so I made this giraffe that is like a toy, and I cut him open and stuffed him with some weight to it, so like rice, so it's weighted. And then each paw has a color and a letter on it. So then when you're like playing the games and stuff on the app, you use the toy if you want to indicate what the answer is. So that's kind of was one of my ideas, but it seems pretty trivial in comparison for your son. Is there any other way that like you think that he would interact with it better?
Well, I'd have to take a little bit. I think to answer the question, I'd have to see the interaction between the person using both the toy and the app.
Yeah.
I would short sell it though. That sounds
Okay.
like a really interesting interaction.
Okay.
Because think about the novelty of that interaction. You know, to sit down with a physical toy, and then I assume that when you interact with the toy, that there's also something going on the screen.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's a pretty novel interaction. So I would not short sell that.
Okay.
That sounds like it could have a wide-ranging. You know, I think the good thing about that is that you can be thinking about a wide range of. You know, if this is for people on the spectrum, that sounds like it could be something for sort of multiple levels on the spectrum.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to have it be as interactive as possible with regular children as well.
Yeah, because think about how people interact with physical objects. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a completely different interaction than what you do with a screen. So, wow, I think, you know, that sounds incredible, really.
Okay, thank you.
That's great. Kevin or Caroline or Tim, anybody? Dan? Other questions? Addie, do you have a question today?
Hi, sorry, I joined a little late. Can somebody else go first and then
Yeah, sure.
I can go?
Can I ask a question, Dad?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, great. I'm just curious if he could design a game for himself. Something that would be absolutely fun for him. What would that look like? I guess I have to ask him, but I'm asking you as his representative.
You know, that's a good question. I don't know that I think that
Well, it's not necessarily an electronic game. It doesn't have to be. It
yeah.
can be anything.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, any answer that I could give would not match his answer.
Hmm.
I'm serious because
Would you forward that question to him and let us know what he said?
I will.
I would love to hear
That would be awesome.
Because I think that's something I don't want to speak for him because the types of combinations that he puts together in his head, I cannot foretell.
Yes, that makes sense. But it's just like
Wow.
of what you think.
That it has cats or trains in it. That's all I could say.
You know,
It would be a train of cats. A cat that is going on diesel.
right?
Steam. No, he's a steam.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, steam. Well, it's like I think that our imagination is too limited sometimes to tap into that, and this is why I'm very, very curious to hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
What would be the absolutely funnest thing that he can think of?
Yeah.
Anson, did he ever use Legos or any of the building materials?
Oh, he loves Legos. He loves Legos. He's got lots of Legos. So and I got him a Lego just the other day, and he put it together. It was just a small thing, but he can follow the directions and put it together just fine.
Does he ever put together stories like he does in the drawings? Or just,
His Lego pile looks like the drawings.
wow. Wow.
It's all laid out with the story. It's very, very similar, and his trains are the same way. There's just like, when you saw the drawings and they were just sort of the whole page is filled.
Uh-huh.
Well, when you go to his Lego space, the whole space is filled with built Legos.
Do you think he sees this in his head before he puts it together? Like, is he kind of, that thinking in pictures sort of?
I think there's a good chance that he does.
Because they seem so complicated, as if he was literally looking at something and then detailing it.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a stream of consciousness there that he can latch onto and then successfully express.
Wow. Yeah. No, I think this is fascinating. I would love to see his Lego work too.
Should have taken a picture. I should have taken a picture.
You got to document this. Oh, that's amazing. We have talked in our class about stories, like games that are narrative stories, games that are kind of never ending, kind of, have different twists and turns, things where you build something or construct something that is from your imagination. So a game isn't always something where you win or lose or you score points. No,
it's really whatever the game maker decides that they want to do. There's not really too many rules there. It can be a variety of different things, and it just depends on what you feel that your user is going to get out of it. How does he reflect qualities from your life?
Guys, I'm sorry that I'm barging in. I'm getting into an elevator and running out of battery, so I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for letting me join you guys. It was a pleasure.
Give our best to David and everybody at the UN.
Will. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Video conference.
Oh my gosh, this is funny. It's great though.
Okay.
We're still in an elevator. It's working.
So, do you think that's qualities that you see in your wife or in his sister?
Oh my goodness. I'm always telling my wife or Evan how much alike they are.
Really?
As much as he's really split between us. He has a lot of both of our characteristics. He has a very different relationship with his mom. They cook a lot. They bake cookies. They do yard work together. They're out in the garden a lot together. And they spend a lot of time together. So he has a very good relationship with her, and he learns a lot. Oh, she does science experiments with him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so they did the one where they did the volcano with the baking soda, stuff like that. They did that one. But they do. They make homemade Play-Doh.
Oh,
And then he makes things like that, homemade slimes.
Wow.
She keeps him busy that way.
Oh, he likes that then.
He loves it. She gave him a box of straws, and he constructed a thing that would hold an egg.
Oh my gosh.
And it had like 1,000 legs. It was overly constructed, but it was very interesting. Just made out of straws.
Unreal. It just seems like he's very imaginative and can just see, build things into stuff and see potential.
Yep.
That's amazing. Do you guys have other questions for Anson? I want to give you a chance.
Can I ask something?
Yeah, sure, please.
Sorry, I joined late and I missed a lot of information. So can I ask again, how old is your son?
He's 8.
Okay, so I have a question. So for my nephew, he's 5 and he's really into like screening, like phones and apps and playing with phone. And his parents are trying to limit that because it's bad for him. When he was that age, did you were you concerned about the apps that he plays with, or did you rather him play with like actual toys instead of like apps because of the like screening and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we were definitely concerned with the amount of time that he would want to be on the iPad if we didn't limit it somehow. So I think that the answer is that yeah, we did, and we still do try to limit his time on the iPad. But he's also sort of shown a little bit less attention span on the iPad. He wants to do more of a variety of things now. So he's actually just naturally sort of self-regulated a bit more than you can when you're 5. Not that there's that much difference between 5 and 8. There's really not. But he's sort of naturally just started to do other things. You know, he just barely learned how to ride a bike. The thing with Evan is that he is physically delayed. Okay, as much as his mental abilities, you know, were showing that he has, the opposite is true with his physical development. So he's just learned how to ride a bike. So he likes to go outside and ride a bike.
Cool.
You know, like any other kid. And he likes to draw and he likes to do other things other than the iPad. But I think that I don't think being on an iPad or in front of a screen is in itself harmful. It's simply that, you know, it's not something that anyone should do all day. Right? So it's just taking things in moderation, I think. And then as far as the content, you know, the big thing we've had to worry about is YouTube.
Oh.
Because he'll get on YouTube and, you know, that is really hard to regulate because what comes up comes up. And so, you know, sometimes he'll watch things that are probably not the greatest thing to watch when he's 8. And if we catch that stuff, we'll ask him to turn it off or something. But, you know, the thing that I've told him on the YouTube, I tell him, look at the rating. If it has a bad rating, don't watch it.
Mm. So he's smart. That's a rule. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a rule.
Very good. Very good. I love that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Anson today? I know we're kind of running towards our end time. Anybody? Anson, do you want to tell us anything else about Evan or things that we should know as we're designing for kids and trying to empower them and really, you know, reach them at their strengths? Is there anything you would add to this?
You know, I think it's a really interesting challenge, and I think it's a great project that you guys are trying to do. And I think that if I were to try to do something like this, I would just really try to get into their heads. What is going on up there? And what are their interests? And how can you because really when you're making a game, the goal is to engage them. Yeah. And if you can do that on any level, I would call it a success. So that's where I would be. I would just be, okay, what's in their heads? What do they find interesting? What kind of interactions? The student that was talking about the giraffe and the screen, that sounds like you're really sort of thinking, you know, about the user. And you know, that's what games are. You're really getting in the minds of the people that are going to be playing these games and how it's going to benefit them. And that's really the only thing. Everything else is open.
Oh, great. Any other comments for Anson? Anybody? Dan or Caroline, anybody? Okay. Well, Anson, this has been fabulous. This is very, very helpful. Thank you for sharing about your son. I have loved seeing his picture, seeing his trains. You know, it lets us see the complex and the beautiful world of all sorts of people. And for you to share that is really fascinating to us and helps us so much with our studio project. So
thanks for having me. And I enjoyed the time sharing about my son, Evan. And I have a report to give to him when he comes back because I told him I was going to do this. So I have to prepare the story for him.
He's great. You tell him. He amazed us.
I'll tell him.
Okay. He's going to be a wonderful storyteller, animator, and cat healer in his future.
I'll tell him.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll say goodbye.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.